For now, though, we're looking at this new promo video. You might have seen it on News Hub. This Australian TV program seems to put New Zealand in a very bad light, and it had us asking today, do they have a point? There's a warning, actually, before we play this story. The clip you are about to see contains footage of Mike Hosking.
On 60 Minutes.
Do you sometimes have to bite your tongue of upsetting the regime in Beijing?
No.
Just what are the Kiwis up to now?
Are they having a laugh?
We thought they were our best friends, but it looks like they've ditched us.
Step right up.
For a fast Chinese buck.
It's very much a deal with the devil.
Oh, it's Mike Hosking's launch into the Australian media market.
We are friends with benefits.
Could it be that New Zealand is turning into New Zealand?
Maybe it's some good old-fashioned Cold War propaganda. Let's unpack this. Friendship? Australia has a funny way of showing it.
All of the criminals on this plane have a one-way ticket to New Zealand.
How does it feel to be kicked out of Australia?
It's taking the trash out.
Jacinda Ardern has taken issue with what she says are a fundamental lack of rights for New Zealanders, many unable to access a welfare payment student loan.
Are New Zealanders in Australia getting a raw deal?
Yes.
That's a disappointing finish.
Greg Chappell's actions as an act of cowardice.
New Zealand not wanting to gang up on China like other members of the Western Five Eyes spy network has raised a few eyebrows. Still, things with China appear to be cooling a little.
As China's role in the world grows and changes, the differences between our systems and the interests and values that shape those systems are becoming harder to reconcile.
It's hard to have a cosy trade bromance and ignore the glaring human rights violations.
So we're actively considering recognising genocide in Xinjiang.
I'm open to getting advice about this issue.
So is this a TV show trying to find a bigger audience by seeding a bit of xenophobia, or do Australians really feel this way?
Well, joining us now is Professor Robert Patman. He's an expert on this stuff. And Robert, do the Aussies have a point? Are we bad friends?
No, I don't think so. I mean, let's be quite clear on this. Australia and New Zealand are very close, and probably the two closest countries together in the region, but we do have differences of interest. And I think Australia and the United States would like New Zealand to speak out a little bit more publicly and in unison with other members of the Five Eyes, but we have an independent foreign policy, and, I think while we actually share the concerns that Australia has, we often like to deliver the message in a more nuanced way.
But if we do get tangled up, if China gets tough with Australia, could it damage us? What might be the impacts?
Oh yes, I mean China's a huge is our number one trading partner, and Nanaia Mahuta is quite rightly urging New Zealand exporters to think about diversifying. I think they're doing that anyway, and actually having an independent an independent foreign policy is part and parcel of not putting New Zealand's eggs all in one basket, and I think that's sensible. We're not prepared to accept a master-servant relationship with China for economic reasons. That will not go down well in this country, and there was public support for when the government stood its ground during the Huawei crisis.
So, given all that, how come 60 Minutes in Australia gets to be mean to us?
I think I think some of the Australian networks, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, have a slightly cartoonish view of New Zealand. We don't often appear on their radar, and when we do, they often think we are tree huggers who are out of touch with reality, or we're bludgers. I think they're wrong on both counts, and and let's be quite clear. I think there are also some networks and some of the political circles in Australia are slightly irritated by the fact that Jacinda Ardern has actually been quite candid in some of the frustrations that New Zealand have had with Australia. And we've been particularly concerned about Australia's human rights record and the way they treat refugees, putting them to detention camps. We've offered to resettle some of the people that have been put in detention camps in the Pacific, but they haven't accepted our offer. But we continue to be frustrated.
So they want us to be more vocal about China and less vocal about them. Annoying.
I think they want us to be a good junior partner, and I'm not sure we're prepared to play that role.
Is this maybe just a communist plot to divide the Pacific and we're all falling for it?
Well, they're not doing a very good job because at the moment they've become their own worst enemy. I mean, China seems to be in the process of losing friends in the neighbourhood, its region, where it needs friends, and that doesn't make a lot of economic sense. If you want to become a superpower, the last thing you want to do is lose your region. And so at the moment, I'm puzzled by China's behaviour at times because it seemed to be counterproductive to their international reputation.
Robert, glad you're on our side. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
I want to be angry at 60 Minutes, but I do respect that New Zealand. That's a good line. Wish I'd come up with that. But I think the problem here is that we're the little sibling, right? And we're getting way more attention and praise worldwide, and Australia's just not happy about it.
No, we're not little. We're actually big. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're almost Sydney. But they're jealous. It's just jealousy.
Yeah, I think you're right.